Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Vafa, aka the Redisty Shredder. Thank you for joining me. In this video, I'm going to show you a high-level overview of how I use EZDrummer by Toontrack to create drums. This tutorial is part of a series for beginner amateur home musicians, so if you haven't seen previous tutorials, please be sure to do so. And of course, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my future tutorials. Okay, disclaimer time. As usual, I'm not an expert, I'm not an audio engineer, I'm not a professional musician, I'm not a drummer. I'm trying to help beginners, and I'm certainly doing things that are not perfect or ideal. Okay, so let's just take a quick listen to an example. Here's a short drum track that we'll be creating. This is from my original song. It's called Upholder of Benevolent Dementia. The original released version of the song has fast drums with blast beats, and I just used the EZDrummer Metal Machine preset with no additional processing. Okay, so now let's go over EZDrummer at a high level. So before I even start this, Toontrack frequently has sales, so if you do plan on buying anything from them, don't pay full price. They usually have a sale in November called Metal Month, but they have sales throughout the entire year. You could also look at Superior Drummer, although I've never used it. EZDrummer is good enough for me. It's much simpler, and of course there are other drum software out there. Your DAW may even have one built in, but personally I've only used EZDrummer. Okay, so now I will demonstrate how I'll remake the drums from that section of Upholder of Benevolent Dementia. So EZDrummer base library will come with some stock loops, and the expansions each come with some stock loops as well. So I've already got two stock loops here. These are from the Metal EZX expansion, and so I usually start with the stock loops and then edit them until I get something that I want, but let's just take a quick listen to these two stock loops. You are going to have to be doing a lot of creating MIDI by hand and editing MIDI by hand. It's kind of unavoidable, but you could import MIDI from Guitar Pro tabs if that's easier for you. And you can also buy additional EZDrummer MIDI libraries from Toontrack, or you can even buy third-party libraries if that's what you want. I know for the next part I want something that's really slow, half-time with a lot of ride. Let's just go ahead and start with this, and then we'll generate the rest of our MIDI. So let's close this down. Just a quick note, I'm not going to go over every single EZDrummer feature because I'd rather focus on the features that I've had the most success with. So the first feature I'm going to show you is the tap to find feature. So that's where you go over here. Let's just clear that out. So as you can hear, there's a metronome playing, and you can choose quantize. I'm going to go ahead and choose eighth notes. And so what you do is you just, as it says, tap to find. You tap and then it will find beats for you in your current library, and this is just kind of a handy way of searching for loops rather than having to listen to each one at a time. All right, so let's just play along with it. So like I said, I want a lot of ride. So there you go. As you can see, it's quantized those notes for me, the eighth notes, and it's just looping. So let's add some kick drum and snare. All right, let's add some opening hits. Whoops, so that's way off. So what you can do in that case is say, all right, let's clear that crash. And we'll remove all the crash hits. All right. There we go. All right. So just hit show results and it'll show us everything that we currently have. So let's just take a listen to what it's found for us. Okay, pretty handy. Here's some other ones. It was a pretty simple beat, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of difference between these. I don't know, let's take a look at these ones. All right, I like that one. Once you've found a beat that you like, you can then go down to Song Creator. So let's open up that. And then you just drag and drop the MIDI that you found right there, and it will actually generate MIDI for you, which is really nice. And based on what you've given it. So it'll generate a song structure and loops and things and individual pieces for that song. All right, so that's the entire song structure you can use in the individual pieces that you can mix and match. So it's giving you intros, verse, etc. It's pretty handy, and the loops that it generates do sound humanized and natural. So let's take a listen to this one. Okay, I think that one's pretty cool, so I'll go ahead and drag and drop that here. Okay, so I like this. But as I mentioned earlier, I wanted something with a little bit more of like a ride. So you can go ahead and open up the edit play style and change all of these little features that you want. So let's go ahead and change the power hand to a ride. This one, there we go. And then change the opening hit too if you want to. Let's go ahead and change it to this sprock. And let's just take a listen to how it sounds now. All right, I think that's pretty cool. It's got a lot of these ghost hits from the snare. And so what you can also do is you can choose specific instruments, let's say the kick, and you can change the number of hits for that instrument. So it will try to programmatically decide where to add those hits. So let's just add a bunch of kick drum. Okay, pretty cool. I like that. So let me go ahead and close that up. And let's add a fill. Let's just see how this one sounds. All right, that's good. Let's add that. Let's add a couple of fills at the end here. Let's just choose another one. All right, that's cool too. And then I want something maybe a little bit more with cymbals. So let's see what else. All right, maybe this one. Sure. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy everything and just put it right into my project, and then I can make all of the hand edits that I want from there. So there you go, you've got it all in the project. I'm going to go ahead and remove it from here, and let's hear what we have. In my opinion, the Metal Machine is the best overall expansion. So here's a sample with a basic preset. However, I also really love the Metal exclamation point expansion for its kick drum. It just has a really clicky kick drum that I like. And I also really love the Drums of Destruction. It's got a really nice ping, high-pitched snare that I like. Here is the Lamb of God preset, the LOG preset. So EZDrummer 2 added a feature where you can mix and match instruments from individual drum expansions that you own to make your own custom drum kit. However, with this approach, you can't mix and match mixer presets. So personally, I prefer the mixed tones, and I tried mixing them myself and adding compression and reverb and all that, but I couldn't get them to sound the way I wanted to. So because of this, I prefer to just use the Toontrack mix versions. What I do is I actually start off by writing a song, recording guitars and everything using just the Metal Machine drum kit, and then I actually duplicate that drum track and create a separate track with metal just for the kicks, and then a separate track just with drums and Destruction for the snare and the cymbals. And then I copy and paste the MIDI around and adjust the velocities and volumes, so it's a blend of all three kits. Now, having 3 instances of EZDrummer in one song is definitely not the best way of doing things. It takes a lot of CPU, but in my opinion, it sounds good and it's the easiest for me. And at that point, since I'm just mixing and I've recorded everything, I don't really care. There's probably a more elegant and better way of doing this, but this is what I do. It just gets the job done. As I mentioned earlier, the thing we were just listening to is just the Metal Machine. So for this one, for the kick track, I'm just gonna delete everything that's not a kick. And then same thing for the snare. Let's just get rid of all the things that are not snare. But anyway, then I go back to my main drum track. This is the Metal Machine track, and I like to turn the velocities down on the snare and the kick because I want it to mostly be my dedicated ones. But I actually still want to have some kick and snare from the Metal Machine just because I like to have them blended together. It just sounds good to me. So let's just select all those. All right, so those are all the kicks and snares from the Metal Machine. And now I just use a Logic MIDI transform velocity limiter. And let's just limit it to, let's say 75. This is just going to kind of tone it down a little bit. And there you go. So let's take a listen to the final track. Okay, so there you have it. That's my general process for writing drum tracks. I didn't want to show you just hand edits because I thought that would be kind of boring, but that's generally what I do to create a drum track. All right, so that is the final product. I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial of how I use EZDrummer. Hopefully it was interesting and useful. Let me know if you had any questions, and be sure to subscribe for more. And as always, thank you for watching.